John Wojciechowski, the band is back together. What is going on? John is on a podcast with Brandon and Todd. Welcome back, John.
Thank you. We're like on the Kiss farewell tour that'll last 40 years.
This is it, though. Like, this is the farewell. This is the farewell.
It take 40 years to say goodbye.
And then next year's the farewell.
Also, in
none of us
studio-
gonna live 40 more years. That's the
What? I take offense to that.
40 more years?
40 more years. I'm gonna be dead and gone. And
No way.
Yeah, if we're taking bets, yes, I would probably put you first. I probably would.
you guys will be here like in 20 years telling the bear story about John getting eaten, and there's this little scats with piece of John.
It's because when you were like 85, you picked up another sport. Just something.
That's
random.
probably what it would be. Yeah,
Yeah.
because he's healthy now, and the way we're going.
It'll be activity-related death, probably.
Yeah, most likely.
I tell people, just to jump into the cycling thing right now, the way I will die is getting hit on Skyline Drive in the Ogden neighborhood over there by Shadow Valley. And
Which is that 25 miles an hour?
It's 25, but sometimes the driver, specifically in Subarus with the coexist sticker, can be a little homicidal.
Specific, very specific.
Yeah.
Are you guys aiming for the bicycles?
I think so. Yeah, they buy the Subarus from Young Subaru, and then they put the coexist sticker as a decoy, thinking, "Oh, well, this
It's a decoy.
yeah." these
It's
people-
because all those stickers, they cover all the view. So you
it's true.
save the planet stickers and they can't see the bicycles.
Yeah, I didn't see it 'cause I put the coexist sticker right in my line of sight.
John, welcome back to the studio. It feels really good that it feels like we're whole again. You're here. Tell me about this whole gravel bike thing. Like there's races that are meant. What is a gravel bike and how is it different from a mountain bike and a road bike? And why are the races significant? That kind of thing.
Well, first off, when it comes to John and riding bikes in general, I'm a sporting guy. Like I do it maybe for fitness. I had my knee replaced, and so I had to do something, and so I went and bought a gravel bike because I as a runner on the Shoreline Trail in Ogden, I would always publicly and privately just always scorn the mountain bikers, and it's like, man, this trail's for me and my friends, and you guys are making me move. But no, they're great. So anyway, point is that I don't know a ton about cycling. I thought I could do gravel because I enjoy the mountains, but I don't really know how to ride technical stuff. So I'll just buy a road bike with fatter tires, and I'll just ride up and down like Farmington Canyon. And that's what I started off doing. And then the story I told you guys before we got started is that, between Strider's, my old running shop, and Zach Chaitlin's Biker's Edge, there is some friendly rivalry about who's actually the better athlete, cyclist or runners. And his thought was running is for criminals, and my thought was, well, anybody can ride a bike. I mean, look at all the the non-marathon looking bike riders. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to grab a bike. I'm going to find a race with a lot of climbing and go try it. And I went to Beaver to do the Crusher and the Tusher, and I was embarrassed with how hard that was and how much walking and actual running I had to do with my bike next to me. I mean, it was like I took my bike for a walk, so it's hard. So
Was that your first race?
It was, yeah.
Oh my god,
It was, yeah.
it's like nationally known as one of the toughest races
Oh, wow.
in the United States.
Well, and John, you ran ultra races, so you ran races that are 100 miles in length, 50 miles in length, and so you're used to in the endurance sport. So what was it about the Crusher that crushed you?
Well, I just got off of Hard Rock, right? Well, I finished Hard Rock in 2013, and you saw me burn out at 2016. And so in 2017, I wanted to do like a Hard Rock-esque type of event, and something I didn't have to go run or train a lot for. Or all I had to do was just go buy a bike. And that's what I thought. That's all I had to do. I mean, I'm a hard rock.
That's literally all you have to do, right?
Yeah. I did Hard Rock. I can do the Crusher and the Tusher.
So what's Hard Rock?
Hard Rock is a 100-mile mountain race in Silverton, Colorado. It's either run clockwise
on your feet.
on your feet. You could do it on your hands, but I would recommend on your feet. But yeah,
But the elevation at Hard Rock is
it's like 29,000 feet. Yeah,
29.
29. It's like running from sea level to the top of Everest.
Oh, that's the vert. But what's like your average elevation?
Oh yeah, it's like the 11,000. It peaks at the highest.
The peaks are around 14, and so you're
I want to say the highest is Handy's Peak at 13
13
something.
Yeah, so it's up. It's up there. Yeah. Okay.
But
So you were humbled, and that's good.
yeah. I mean, I'm enjoying the cycling, the bike riding, and I am humbled at the amount of effort it takes, just if not more effort on the bike as it does running. So it's tough. There's a lot of tech and figuring out tires and wheels and rims and chains and.
Are you gonna run again, or are you sold? Like you're just gonna stick with bikes now?
I'll run again. I still have some unfinished business both at Hard Rock and Wasatch and the Bear.
Does Hard Rock know this? Does the Bear know this?
Oh, they both know it very well.
They all know. Kristen doesn't know, but
Well,
she
she
knows.
will.
She knows.
This podcast is public,
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
okay.
But in the meantime, my two brothers have gotten into mountain biking and gravel riding, so it's been a way to connect with them and have some family fun that doesn't involve Sawakaw.
Do you think you can do? I mean, I've never run ultra. Well, I did like a 50K, but I've never run ultras that were like 50 miles or hundreds. I don't know how. I've seen people who are older in their 60s and maybe 70s do it, but I've definitely seen 70s and 80-year-olds run marathons and stuff. But what about bike racing? Are older people bike racing more now?
I see a lot, James. I love your comments on this, but I tend to believe that, like in ultra running, some of the toughest competitors in these events are your 50 and older, definitely 40 and older athletes. So, yeah. I mean, I don't go up and ask ages, but I see some old guys and gals out there, and they're certainly getting after it. And, yeah, so...
I'm always impressed when I see people that I'm like, that person not only can walk, but is running an ultra race at their age or whatever. And it's, whenever I felt bad for myself, and I did it mostly, I was in my 30s when I was doing it. Now I'm in my late 40s. But when I was out there in my 30s and seeing these people, it's such an inspiration to see. It really makes you think, okay, I felt sorry for myself because I didn't train hard enough or something, and these people are crushing me. I also learned that slow and steady does win the race a lot of times, which is crazy.
Yeah. At Striders, I always said you have 7 years as a competitive marathoner road runner. And then after that, your body starts to break down or revolt. And then you just retire to ultra running. Because the dirty little secret there, it's a lot of hiking, moving fast in the mountains, but it's not running like a marathon. It's just not as hard. But I did learn, I've learned more through cycling that I did with running, that nutrition can definitely help win races. And that's something.
Did you bonk?
I don't know. I don't know if it's because I am older, but I do tend to bonk more. Did tend to bonk more on the bike than I did running. And I don't know why. If it's more of an anaerobic type of thing, just the slow grind sometimes on a long uphill on a bike. But dialing the nutrition. And I wish I would have figured that out sooner. When I was doing all the ultra running. But that's.
Do you have tips? What do you do?
I definitely, in ultra running, I'd always go into it with the thought that, whatever I do the day of the race or while I'm running, what I'm consuming and calories, but I never really paid attention to, my body is really not responding well to, all these 300 calories in an hour, and I got to drink all this, but, what I'm doing lifestyle-wise, eating, tends to do better. So I'm on the bike and, I'm eating better. And I've read that book and I forget the author, and I might get it backwards. But
Sounds like it's going to be a good, solid reference.
yes.
We'll find it.
But the title, if you Google it, it's feed your gut, protect your liver. And yeah, just to sum it up, it's just eat real food, whole food.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
I mean, your body can go a long way just on, burning fat but you don't need to consume all these calories and, crazy science project food. And
Have you
As
read-
you look straight across to our green room snacks, this is because this is what musicians need.
I ate a
That's
lot of
a whole
that kind of
separate
stuff
thing.
on these ultras. You pull up and it was just like, the worst junk food buffet. At Hard Rock, you'd get there and you'd have stuff like, bacon and beer nuts and licorice and.
I remember I did the antelope race once, and does Hard Rock do things where they just have raw, like potatoes in
They
salt?
do, and I remember they have a soup that's really like a potato soup or potato and onion soup that was really good and satisfying and hot in the middle of nowhere. So they do have some wholesome type things there, but I mean, just a lot of Cokes and.
So you probably
M&Ms.
miss the bestseller, Rum Will Get You There.
Where'd you read that? What's the name of your source?
Made it up, but it got me there. Yeah. So,
It's Brandon's Bible right there.
because you're very health conscious these days, which is good.
Well, and the reason is, as James will attest to in biking, like it's expensive. It's an expensive sport, and you're always just trying to, lighten your frame, and it's easier to lose a few pounds than to go buy, some carbon rims.
So what race are you doing next, or what's on the agenda here?
The next is with my brother Brad. We're going to St. George to ride the True Grit mountain biking race, and then my brother Michael and I are going to do the Wild Horse gravel race in Dale, Utah, which is out West Desert.
And you're going to win. You're not going to just play, right?
Yeah, the Wojos don't play. I'm going out there to beat my brother Brad, and then I'm going out there to beat my brother Mike.
Okay.
The rest of the lineup is not so important.
Yeah.
That one person.
Yeah. Are you the oldest?
I'm the oldest. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna be 50. I'm gonna be 50.
Like eventually or this year?
No, like in a few weeks.
How am I the old? How am I the old one? I'm the
I
old
don't
one in
know.
the
Are you
trailer
the
right
oldest?
Because in this past December, I just turned.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd live this long. This is
We didn't think you did or would.
Yeah, here
I'm
I am.
surprised as
Yeah,
well. Yeah.
Oh,
I think you're going strong. I think what we should do really quick though, Brandon,
Yeah.
for perhaps those that haven't been listening to the show over the last 10 years or however long it's been, is just a quick flashback. And Brandon, maybe you can take us through a little bit of a timeline of our history with this gentleman, Wojo, right here. So,
Wojo? Yeah. Yeah. Wojo, I was working at Gear 30 and he just walked in.
do we have a time frame? When was this ish?
Well, Gear 30 opened in 2012.
Okay.
And next to Gear 30, you opened. When did you open Strider's at that location?
in 2013.
2013.
Yeah.
So John was there about 10 minutes before he came over and said, "Hi, I'm John. I work at Strider's next door." And then he just walked over and wanted to be on a podcast that we were recording one day. I think that's how it goes, right? Like you just came up, we were recording, and he's like, "Hi, what are you doing? What are you doing over there? Like, gonna be on your podcast?"
It says it like that, which is 100% accurate. It's like, man,
And the rest
this
is
Wojo,
history.
this John guy's a jerk. Come on in. Hello, I'm John. I'm going to send it on the podcast.
And then we started a show. And then because he was great, he's like, "Well, I want to do my own show." And so we're like,
He's like, I've
Okay.
listened to your shows, which are all shit, and I really do want to start my own on this. But I see that you got some of this gear already, so if you could,
yeah.
Todd's always been the funny one.
Which is fair. 100%. Which is fair. So it was like, okay, let's do that. And so he starts a show. It's called Mr. Goodyears Neighborhood, and I have the poster, and it comes up in my memories all the time too. Of when we had Bill Allred. You had Bill Allred on your show, which was a big get, and we had a party at the Goal Foundation. And I remember I drank way too many of those whiskeys in beer. I don't know what the hell that was, but I was sloshed during that podcast.
Yeah.
But you had a good run there with Mr. Goodyears Neighborhood. You interviewed some awesome people.
Yeah, it was fun. Mr. Goodyear's Neighborhood, if you remember, we named it after Miles Morris Goodyear, who was like the first mountain man to establish the area. And so the thought behind it was, and we invited Bill on because I don't know if they still do, but on Next 96 they had the, know the people in your neighborhood, which is kind of a play off of Mr. Rogers. So I thought we'll just do the show and we'll just kind of interview, prominent people in Ogden and, have them tell their stories. And, my evil plan was just to help it gain some attention for striders. I didn't want to talk about running or shoes or the whole bit. I just wanted to, be involved in the Ogden community. And I thought, well, this is a good way to do it without, being overtly, come buy some shoes from striders. I thought I would just,
Well, you're good at evil plans. I mean, clarify the beginnings of like Strider's involvement, your involvement with the Ogden Marathon.
Yeah, so Strider started in Layton, and we started that in 2003, 2004, and my lovely bride, Kristen. It's an interesting story in how that started. So we opened Striders, and I reached out to the Ogden Marathon just to, hey, we're open, and, how can we get involved in the marathon? And at the time, the marathon's always been owned by the city, but it was organized by an outside Salt Lake company, and the guy's name I'm failing to remember. But anyway, long story short, the city wasn't completely satisfied. They were thinking bigger for the marathon, and he was just trying to think of a way to pay his bills. Right.
This is the short story.
The short story. The long story short, I went to a planning Ogden Marathon meeting, and they said, "This is great. We'd love to get a running store involved."
Could make sense.
Yeah. So I volunteered my wife, Kristen, to, start going to the planning meetings. And, if you know my wife, Kristen, it doesn't take long before she's like the race director, and it didn't take long. Yeah. And so, she was directing the first versions of the Goal Foundation Ogden Marathon. And, I'm proud to say she took her from, a few hundred runners to a few thousand runners. I mean, she grew from like 300 runners to 10,000 runners and added the half marathon and did a lot of great things, and it was her idea to start the winter racing circuit. And
the winter racing circuit, which is coming up, is it still because Striders is gone?
Yeah, Striders is now Fleet Feet.
Yeah,
but I think I don't know what they're calling it. I don't think they're calling it the winter racing circuit. We sold it to the Goal Foundation as the winter racing circuit. They changed it to the winter race circuit. And then, we bought it.
Big difference.
Yeah. But, we bought it from Kurt Black, Mark Jolly. They were both former runners at Weber State, and they had Stride Racing. And, they started it off as the Northern Utah Training Series, Nuts. And then, we bought it from them. And then they went and bought the first timing chip system, and then we contracted with them to time the races, and it was a cumulative race thing, and we put it on the USA Track and Field Circuit, and it was a lot of fun. We did it in the middle of the winter time. We added all the hills in Ogden, and it was fun. It was good times. And
I have another story about John. I went to Snow Basin one time because they were, what was the meeting? Well, I don't know what the meeting was about, but it was like they wanted to do a race up at Snow Basin, and the Snow Basin management at the time was not willing to lease the land or let the land be used by race directors because the argument was, which is still the case, it's like, okay, well, someone's going to pay $10,000 for a wedding. I don't want to have a race going on up here.
I don't want to see a Porta John,
a Porta John and stuff. And John pipes up and he says something like, I'm just trying to sell shoes. I'm trying to sell shoes. And I want to do this race. And I was like, that man just trying to sell some shoes.
Yeah, we were trying to put together, and I still think it'd be a great course, but we were trying to start a race at Buse Trailhead, run up the Mount Ogden, and then down through Snow Basin, and then down Wheeler, and then up South Skyline to Lewis Peak, and then down to the Divide, and then up to Ben Lomond, and then down at North Fork Park.
You're clearly just making this up as you go right now. It's a lot of places.
It's only 50 miles. We could do an out and back, and it could be.
But do you think because Snow Basin's growing now, and there's the Forest Service issue, do you think something like that will ever happen in Ogden because of the current ownership of land and mountains and
Maybe,
stuff?
maybe, and I'm not gonna lie, and I'll admit it. I mean, the reason I took that job at Snow Basin years ago was just to make some connections there and some goodwill. And so I think it's possible. I think it's possible for sure. I think timing is right because a $10,000 wedding at Snow Basin back then was expensive. Now it's a bargain. So I mean, you're still gonna have to deal with that, and that's primarily a lot of their spring business is events, and so I mean, you time it right, it could happen. So yeah, it could happen.
Okay.
If anybody wants to put that race on, I will certainly advise. But they're a lot of work.
Not raising my hand. That sounds like a lot of work.
No. I have a Utah safety hat in here. Do you want to give a little plug?
Because if I remember right, when you first came on pitching your podcast, we sort of restructured, became Basin at that time. I think it was part of your 10-year plan is your current job. And so
Sell striders and get fired and then go. Yeah.
we're pretty much checking off literally everything.
Yeah,
from
every
the
box.
list.
Yep.
And then president of the Utah Safety Council.
Yeah, so this is my weird career. So out of Weber State, I wanted to be a police officer and did the whole academy thing, and then Ogden City Police Department, and realized I'm not going to be a very good cop at all. So
Far too nice.
I think he's a better criminal, to tell you the truth.
these guys are a bunch of
Criminals
rule
probably
followers.
make good cops. Yeah.
So I ended up at Omega. If you remember Omega Zip Drives, I was their safety manager. Out of Weber State from 2000.
Oh, it's in your blood.
Yeah, I was there in 1996 to 2003, and then when Omega started having business problems, they laid me off, and I took my $10,000 severance package and I opened up Striders with it. Mm-hmm. So the joke in the family is, oh, John, he's like Homer Simpson, the safety guy over there at. And then I started selling shoes, and it turned into the Al Bundy thing, and
Feels like you're not getting the respect you deserve here.
Yeah. So
I think
anyway,
it's just the right amount of
Okay.
safety to shoes, and then after Striders, I was kind of a bum for a while. I thought it was great. We lived in a van down by the river in Sedona for a minute, and then
for real.
Then I bounced around, and that was really the real reason why Mr. Goodyears Neighborhood really wasn't sustainable. Is I just needed to figure out the next phase of life, and I just couldn't commit to that.
Yep.
But and then I landed at the safety council job, like you. I saw it on Indeed, and I thought, I remember safety. Let's just, let's put in for this and see what happens.
I remember safety.
No one's gonna hire me to be a president of anything, but So I've been there for 4 years now, and we're a chapter of the National Safety Council. We do a lot of traffic schools, so if you get a specific type of citation from a UHP officer, you'll come see John.
I do have a small question. What did a safety officer for zip drives consist of? What did you do for that?
Yes.
Well,
Because I'm trying to think, because in a box somewhere, I still have one of those zip drives, right? So I can understand the sheer safety of just not getting hurt on that beast of a hard drive. And the discs themselves were this big.
Like, we used to manufacture those drives in Roy. So there's several hundred employees that would show up every day, and they would snap these things together or glue them together. And we had an R&D lab and with lasers and, just 1,000 different, in a warehouse and forklifts and just, thousands of ways to get hurt and killed. And so, as Omega grew from the Bernoulli drives to zip drives, it went from a $300 million a year company to a $2 billion in literally
a big
18
company.
months. Yeah. So they needed a safety person, and I was being mentored as the safety manager at Clearfield Job Corps Center. That still exists.
What is it about you think that you respond so well to that career path, like to doing that particular? I mean, what do you think it is? Because we know you pretty well, but I'd like to hear it from you.
Well, I mean, I take pride in, I like helping people. It makes me feel better about myself. And, I like helping people and cats. I don't know what it is, but people tend to, feel they trust me.
The people route pays better than the cat route, I think it does.
People trust me and cats trust me.
Yeah.
I don't know why. And I'm really not, a super fan of either one of them, but, they tend to migrate toward me and just kind of purr and paw and,
It's got to be an attention to detail gig too, right? Like
definitely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I still remember, I still see people that I sold shoes to, 15 years ago, and I still remember their size and the shoe it was. And I'll ask them, it's like, hey, you still running in the launch from Brooks? It's, the 9th version now. How's that going? And yeah, I don't remember their name sometimes, but I remember the shoe size and what shoe.
But you remember a foot.
I remember a foot. Yeah.
Never forget a foot.
Did you ever fix those bunions or?
Somebody's talking to you. They're like, my eyes are up here, John. My eyes are up here. You're just looking straight down at their feet the whole time.
Yeah.
Bring it full circle, because now we got a podcast at the Safety Commission.
Yeah. So the Utah Safety Council, we
Council.
Yeah, council. We do a lot of traffic and first aid, CPR, and OSHA and MSHA and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that we needed to do is just kind of solidify the community. And I thought, I wish we could do the same thing we did at Striders, because the podcast with Striders and Ogden really worked in getting us out there and establishing the community. And I know we had some history with the marathon. We did some things in Ogden ahead of that. But the podcast, even though we really weren't even talking about shoes and running and training and nutrition, we were just talking about the people in Ogden. It really helped. So I thought, I don't know, let's try it with the Utah Safety Council. So there's the Utah Labor Commission. They have this workplace safety grant program where you can submit a grant, like, hey, I want money for this project. So I told the people around me, my board, that, hey, I'm going to submit a grant to the Utah Labor Commission to have them fund the podcast. They don't pay for computer stuff or electronic equipment, but I think it could go a long way in telling the safety story and help save lives, by telling the stories of people in safety that don't really get any attention, right? And so I submitted this grant on a whim, and they said yes a year ago. And so Brandon, I looped him in right away, and he helped us acquire all the equipment, because I didn't know what it was. And so he helped, this is your shopping list of things you need to get. And then, in the grant I wrote, okay, we're going to need to, have some sort of expertise, podcast engineer. And so that's how we, looped in the Banyan Collective. Is I really just wanted to flip a switch. I didn't want to try to reinvent stuff. So what I told them is, there's people and businesses like the Banyan Collective out there that can you just turn them on and we can
What
go.
did the Safety Council do with all of those years worth of training and safety VHS tapes? Because I imagine those were probably used right before the podcast was started.
We still rent them out daily. I'm not kidding. I am not kidding. In fact, if you go to the Kennecott copper mine,
I have no doubt of it.
If you're a visitor, if you're going to work there, you have to go through this, 24-hour class to get onto the mine. But if you're a visitor, just to take the bus to the lookout area, you got to sit in this room. You have to push in the VCR.
That is so funny.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh,
yes. We have and that's another Labor Commission grant. Every year we buy more DVDs and we still have several working VHS
to
players.
podcast.
Yeah.
It just skipped everything between.
Yeah. You'd be surprised, a lot of, construction companies that, do their safety briefings in the middle of nowhere, they just pop in a VHS tape in the back of the truck or a DVD because they don't have YouTube access.
Yeah.
They play a tangible media and so we still have them. You joke, but yeah.
Just barely joking. There's always the truth behind the joke.
No, for sure. John, welcome back, man. It's good to have you on a microphone, not as part of the Safety Council, but with us. So
Yeah.
thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.